iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. All right, let's take a look at some news and notes. And Matt Carpenter is saying that he may be pulling out of the World Baseball Classic. Not the first guy to do that. He's dealing with a back injury. We discussed yesterday Hanley Ramirez pulling out because of a shoulder injury. And oh yes, Adrian Beltre looks like he may not play because of a calf injury. How about this? How about let's not have the World Baseball Classic? Seriously. I get it. It's a nice concept. But isn't that what the Olympics are for? How about letting baseball players play in the Olympics? I'm okay with that. The NBA does it. Hockey does it. But I mean, maybe even they do it in the Olympics. I don't know. I don't really pay as much attention to Olympic baseball. But this World Baseball Classic is a disaster to me. It's too soon in the season to rev up to play at this level. I want my guys, I want Adrian Beltre worrying about playing for the Rangers. I want Matt Carpenter worrying about what he's doing for the Cardinals. Do I want him to play for Team USA? Sure. Let me tell you about the interest that I have in the WBC. Zero. Whether the USA wins or loses, I don't lose any sleep. If Matt Carpenter gets hurt, I'm sleepless tonight. See the difference? Now look, if I was from, I don't know, the Dominican Republic or Venezuela or Colombia, maybe I'd feel different. Maybe I would have certain nationalistic pride and care more about the WBC. I don't think so. I'm pretty happy to be an American. I'm proud to be an American. Or at least I know I'm free, right, Lee Greenwood? But I don't need to watch the WBC to make me feel great to be American. I watch the WBC mainly to make sure my guys don't get hurt. Trust me when I'm saying, whether we beat Venezuela or not, I could care less. I'm not losing any sleep over Venezuela beating us 6-3. I am losing sleep over Matt Carpenter hurting his back and being out for 4 weeks in my fantasy baseball season. That's what I lose sleep over. I just think it's at the wrong time. I don't know when is the right time. You want to take off? How about this? How about the fact that the season's so long anyway? Oh my God, it's long. Here's what we do. Every 4 years, we shorten the season a little bit, and then we give a nice midseason break for a week and play the WBC. Nobody would want to do that, would they? Oh no, we don't want any of our guys getting hurt in the middle of the season. Oh, it's better to get them hurt in the beginning of the season? That's better? How about this? How about not play it at all? I don't know whose cockamamie idea this was, but I don't think it was genius. I can't believe that the WC is making a lot of money. I don't believe it. Somebody show me their books. I can't think that this is the most successful idea I've ever heard about. I think it's ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, Shelby Miller allowed 1 hit over 3 innings against the Cubs. He fanned 6 and didn't walk a player, didn't walk a batter. He was hitting high digits on the radar gun. So you know what? I'm still not buying him. You can buy him. I'm not buying him. Him pitching well in the Cactus League, you know what that means to me? The same thing about Venezuela beating the U.S. 0. I've seen Shelby Miller. He's a disaster. But he's figured it out, Dr. Roto. Yeah, right. Good luck with that. You take the shot on him. I'm not. I didn't wake up this morning. There's a sucker born every minute, and I'm not that guy. I didn't wake up this morning saying, you know, this is a good life decision to take Shelby Miller. It's a bad life decision to take Shelby Miller. Now, you want to say he improves? Great. How much is he really going to improve? How good is he? Not very. And possibly the worst deal in Major League history, I truly believe. I mean, they gave up Dansby Swanson for him. He had a 6.15 ERA and a 1.67 whip. 1.67 whip. Do you have any idea what that does to your team? Seriously. Now, was he good the 3 seasons before? Absolutely. But ask yourself this simple question. If Shelby Miller was really that good, would St. Louis have moved him in the first place to Atlanta? Then, would Atlanta have moved him to Arizona? If he was this great player, if he was this awesome star that everybody liked, right? If he was this super duper pitcher, would he be on 3 teams in about 5 years? I don't think so. I mean, isn't it common sense? Seriously, isn't it common sense to ask ourselves these very questions? Right? Hey, this guy's so good, I see him as a linchpin to our pitching staff. You know what? I'll trade him. Yeah, maybe you didn't like him. The Cardinals do very well, right? The Cardinals do very well. They know talent. Guys go to St. Louis and improve. Guys leave St. Louis, they don't get better. It's like the New England Patriots. How many people leave New England and all of a sudden are better? Usually it's the other way around. You go to New England and you're better. So I'm just throwing it out there. All right, time now for my Miami Marlins mega preview. I was trying to throw in another M there for some alliteration, but I couldn't figure it out. All right, JT Realmuto at catcher. I am a fan. A big fan. I really am. I think last couple of years, we've really seen Realmuto do what I think he can do. Double-digit home runs, close to double digits in speed. The average has vacillated a little bit from 260 2 years ago to 303. I don't think he's 260. I think he's closer to 300. I'll give him about 285 to 290. I like him. How many guys will steal 10 bases at catcher? How many guys will hit 10 home runs at catcher? Not many. I think he should be somebody in the top 5 at the position. Do I love him? No. Am I going to reach for him? No. I mean, at the end of the day, it's 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases. But I do like him a lot. All right, I think Justin Bour is interesting. Justin Bour cannot, and when I say cannot, I really mean cannot hit lefties. But the team seems committed to giving him a chance to hit lefties this year. So, he mashes righties, and he hits them pretty well. 280 at-bats last year, he had 15 home runs. That's pretty good. Hit 264. So if you let him hit, right, if you let him hit against righties, you're going to see some production. So now Miami's saying to themselves the following. Our pitching staff stinks. Stinks beyond belief. Let's add another guy in the bullpen as opposed to another hitter at the end of the bench. And by doing so, let's let Bour play first base against everybody. Worth a shot. Now look, the backup plan is Derek Dietrich, who rakes lefties. Rakes them. You know I love Derek Dietrich against a lefty. But Derek Dietrich, he can place him second, he can place him third, he can place him outfield. I'm okay with him as the utility guy. But I don't hate Bour. I think a lot of people do. I don't hate him. For a buck at the end of my draft, maybe something good could happen there. Something good can happen. D. Gordon is interesting because, man, this guy had the most publicity ever a few years ago. People saw him when he stole 64 bases in 2014. This guy was legit. I mean, he had a great year, and then in 2015, he was pretty good. Last year, obviously, a little PEDs. If you're taking PEDs, hit more than 2 home runs, dude. So I have questions right now about D. Gordon. Is he good without the PEDs? How bad is the power? Can he hit 300? Look, if he hits 300 and scores 80 to 90 runs and steals 50 bases, he's a 3-category star. I'm not lying about that. He's a 3-category star. But if he can't, if he can hit 260, then I don't like him nearly as much and he's being overdrafted in the 3rd round. I'm not taking him in the 3rd round. I'll take him in the 4th round. That means to me I'm not going to get him because I'm not going to overpay. So I'm probably not going to get him on any of my teams, and I think I'm okay about that. Hechavarria, I mean, this guy is just a 0. Seriously, he's a 0. I mean, the shortstop is a problem for the Marlins. Maybe they've got somebody down in the minors, but I don't think so. I think they need to improve that spot, but they're not going to. Hechavarria about 8th. He'll do what he does. I mean, maybe you'll get a little Miguel Rojas, who's a young guy, but he doesn't really offer anything either. I mean, none of these guys are great power sources. They're disappointments. Needs to be better. All right, Martin Prado. Martin Prado, to me, is like the Yunel Escobar of the National League. Zero speed, meh in runs, meh in RBIs, in power, but he hits for a high average. So to me, he's Yunel Escobar. I didn't like Yunel Escobar. I don't like Martin Prado. Now, back in 2012, I liked Prado when he had 10 home runs and 17 stolen bases and hit 301. But I haven't really liked him since. Do I hate him? No. In an NL-only league, he is somewhat useful, right? In an NL-only league, he's okay. In a mixed league, he's like a $1 guy at the end of the draft. But where are the Marlins dominant? They're dominant in two places. First of all, they're dominant in the outfield. So let's begin with Giancarlo Stanton. Don't call him Mike, call him Giancarlo. I would think that this is the most discussed player in fantasy. Because when we look at Stanton, we say to ourselves, man, I've never seen a guy hit the ball harder than this guy. He is a monster. He's the woolly mammoth. I mean, he's only really hit 37 home runs as his high, but shouldn't he be able to hit 57? I mean, that's how big he is. Problem is he plays in a crappy park. The park is very big. He hasn't had a lot of protection around him, and he's always injured. So here are his at-bats. 359, 516, 449, 425, 539, 279, 413. Not great. The average is always mediocre. The runs scored are bad because the lineup is bad. And he's got no stolen bases. One year he had 13, but for the most part he hasn't really been over 5 or 6. So when you draft Stanton, you are buying into the what if. What if he gets 600 at-bats? What if he hits 50 home runs? He's just not my kind of player. That doesn't mean he shouldn't be your kind of player. If I was in a points league, I would think differently because if I got 4 points for a home run and Giancarlo Stanton could hit 40 of them, that's a lot of points. I'm more interested. But in the leagues I play, I think I'm going to let him go. Ask yourself this ridiculous question. Ridiculous. Justin Bour, if he gets, 400 at-bats, couldn't he give me 30 home runs and 80 RBIs? How much different is that than Stanton? Justin Bour, you're going to get in around 22. Stanton, you're going to get in 2. That tells you he's overvalued. Because if he doesn't get me 50 home runs, his average is not great, the speed is not great, the runs scored are not great. So, I don't want him. But I do want Christian Yelich. See, this is a player to me. This is a guy who is a really good hitter. I mean, he's never had a year where he hit under 284. So he's a 300 hitter. The power is starting to emerge. We saw him from 7 in 2015 to 21 last year. The RBIs went up from 44 to 98. And I think there's speed there. This is a guy on the rise. This is a Dr. Roto kind of player, right? Because I like these 5 categories guys. He helps me everywhere. Stanton helps me in 2 places. Yelich can help me in 5. How about Marcell Ozuna? This guy was actually decent last year. He had 23 home runs and 76 RBIs. But ask yourself this. How much different was he than Stanton? 75 runs scored. Pretty much very few stolen bases. Hit 260. So, he went 23 and 76. Right? That's what he did. And Stanton, as we know, went 27 and 74. But Ozuna goes in round 10 and Stanton goes in round 2. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. Now, do I love Ozuna? No. I think he's a really good 4th outfielder. Maybe a 3, but I look at him as a 4. Like Marcell Ozuna to me is Cole Calhoun. I might like Calhoun a little bit more because he's playing in front of Mike Trout, but they're similar. So there's way too many similarities between the Marlins and the Angels for me. And you know I didn't like the Angels. Trout and Stanton, Ozuna and Calhoun, Prado and Escobar. Not very good. But I do like Yelich a lot. D. Gordon has some significant upside if he can be as good. Can he? I don't know. Without the PEDs. A.J. Ramos. I'm going to give you one number you need to know for A.J. Ramos. And here's the number. 1. It's the number of home runs he let up last year in 64 innings. 1 home run. He had 73 strikeouts in 64 innings. Now, he had a lot of walks. There's a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. That's not very good. But he only blew 3 saves. He had 40 saves and 3 blown saves. And he let up 1 home run. So I know that Donnie Baseball does not like A.J. Ramos. And I know that they went very heavily with Brad Ziegler. I get it. I understand that. But to me, Brad Ziegler is not the closer. Ramos is. Ziegler is the effector, much like Kyle Barraclaw, who I do like as well. He's 26 with a live arm. The dude had 72 innings on 113 strikeouts. That's a big number. How many home runs did Barraclaw let up? 1. That's a big number for him too. I like Barraclaw a lot. A league that values holds, you could probably get 30 from him. So I like Ramos and Barraclaw. Don't forget there's Ziegler and Junichi Tozawa. Tozawa was a very good pitcher for the Red Sox. People forget that. He doesn't suck. A couple of years ago in 2014, he was very good. Not great the last 2 years. Let up 9 home runs last year. That was probably the big problem. But in that park, I think he improves. But I mean, I'm not going to draft Junichi Tozawa. But I like Kyle Barraclaw. I think he's interesting. All right, let's get to the Marlins pitching staff. It all begins with Adam Conley. So they have 5 guys. Adam Conley's okay. He's respectable. Not great, but I do like him. He's getting better. Still lets up too many walks. He was a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio last year. That's the problem. The whip was 1.4. You're not winning any leagues with a 1.4 whip. You're just not. Wai-Yin Chen, this is another guy who I thought would have been much better coming over from the American League to the National League, but his ERA went up. I don't get that. So I think he can improve. I do. I think he can improve. You've got to think that going from Camden Yards to Miami is an improvement, but I don't know. He just was never right last year. You know what? I would take a shot at Chen for $1 at the end of my draft. I think he could be interesting. I don't really like Edison Volquez. I never have. He lets up way too many hits and too many walks for me, and he's getting older. So Edison Volquez I'm not interested in at all. But I am very interested in these last 2 guys. Dan Straley, who didn't pitch very well on the road, pitched better in Cincinnati than he did on the road. But he let up a lot of walks last year. He had 73 walks and 162 strikeouts, so that's a number that's bad number. But he let up 31 home runs, which is an awful lot. But look at the number, 154 hits in 191 innings. That's interesting to me. It means guys aren't making great contact. They're getting on base because they're walking. And then when he's walking, guys, he's letting up the big home run. But he's not getting nickel and dimed, right? So I think he's interesting this year, Straley. I don't love him, but in the reserve round, I certainly would look at him. The guy I really like is David Phelps. I really like David Phelps, who I think slots in more as a long reliever than a starter. But if he started, right, and there were times last year that he started. If I look at his game log last year, I mean, he was pretty much in the bullpen, but they talked about starting him. But there were a couple of starts that he had. On August 15th, he had 5 innings. He had 8 strikeouts. And August 20th, 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. So there were a couple of games where he started. If he's their 5th starter, watch him closely because this guy could get you 5-inning starts with 5 or 6 or 7 strikeouts, and that could help you in KIP, right? Strikeouts per inning. So I do have a little like, not love, a little like for David Phelps. All right, so keep your eye on David Phelps. But right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. All right, I want to encourage you to go to scoutfantasy.com. Enter the promo code ROTO, that's ROTO. Pay for 1 month, you get 2 more for free. You get my Roto Visionary rankings. You get Adam Ronis' rankings. You get Sean Childs' rankings. You get our aggregate rankings. You get Adam Ronis' player profiles. You get my podcasts, my fantasy teams in a nutshell. And then you get the theses. Sean Childs' thesis per team. the team outlooks. They're great stuff, and I highly recommend them. I mean, Ronas has won Tout Wars twice. I've won the Sirius XM Host League a couple of times. I've won money in the NFBC tons of times. Sean Child's a big high-stakes winner. So you're talking about guys who've dominated in the industry and in high stakes. That's what you're looking for. That's how you win your fantasy baseball leagues. All right, guys, back soon with more team previews. Be well and take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!